Yo, what's up guys? I'm back with another video, and this video I'm going to be doing a collection of my vinyls. I've already taken some down off the top shelf. Normally I kind of just have one sitting there. It's mainly if I have a vinyl that's talking about the topic that I want to talk about in the video, but I've already kind of got some set down beside me. So yeah, I just wanted to give a little collection because, well, I couldn't think of anything better to do, and also because I feel like my collection's big enough to, hold some validity and show some heat off, so let's get into it. So starting with number one, I've had this one at the top shelf for quite some time because this is one of my favorite albums that's probably ever been released. But definitely like within the last year has definitely been one of my top two albums without question. Black Country New Road, Ants from Up There. It comes with a super cool book, and it's got all the lyrics and some cool like behind the scene pictures. In all the vinyls, I'm not gonna go through and open every single one and show you the disc unless, it's worth it or has a cool design or has something important on the inside. But this one does open up, and it's got some cool bugs in there and some little globes. But I mean, I'm not, like I said earlier, I'm not gonna give a whole big thing for every single one of the records. I just wanted to show off some of my collection rather than, going through and pulling out every disc, because this is just a standard black disc. And I mean, you can find the lyrics online, so I don't need to read you the book. Now, the next few are going to be from an artist that I can't really support anymore, but obviously they're still part of my collection. So I haven't purchased anything by the artist after everything that came out, but these are just things that I had in my collection that are still a part of my collection, obviously. It's just, I understand that supporting the artist isn't exactly a good look. But yeah, we have Yay by Kanye West. Didn't mean to hit my mic there. We have Yay by Kanye West. I'm just going to go through these quickly rather than giving this guy any more publicity than he deserves. Kids See Ghosts. I think this one is the blue one. The College Dropout. And 808s and Heartbreak. This one actually does have a pretty cool inside, so I will show it because it does come with the CD and the vinyl, and it's a trifold, so pretty neat. Very cool nonetheless. Gonna grab some more. Moving on next to an artist who's a little harder to hate. Good Kid, Mad City. To Pimp a Butterfly. Shout out to you for buying me that. Untitled Unmastered, the Black Panther soundtrack. There's too many hits on this album. I don't own many like movie soundtracks, but there's too many hits on this, along with one more that's coming. Probably within the next few grabs. Damn, this is my favorite album by Kendrick without question. It's just too good. Baby Keem's Melodic Blue. Views by the Certified Lover Boy himself. Here we go, Into the Spider-Verse. This is the other movie soundtrack I was talking about. Obviously, another one with just way too many hits on it. Stoney by Post Malone. This actually is a limited one, with a big I. And this one does have a pretty cool color on the disc. Bang. Very sleek. This is one of my favorite vinyls I own. I remember whenever I bought it, I listened to it like 4 times in a row. Very good album, very good vinyl. And then another Post Malone. We have Hollywood's Bleeding. This also is the pink one. Comes with a little book, and the disc itself is pink. Very, very cool. Also a very good Post Malone album. Probably is my favorite. But I'm not sure because that and Stoney are very close. And then the Pittsburgh King himself. In this one, Blue Slide Park by Mac Miller is actually super cool. So there's openings in the cover itself, and the sleeve for the vinyl is what would go underneath this to create, like, I guess an illusion that it is the album cover, but it's actually not. And there's the little cartoon Mac. Super cool colored one. This one's one of my favorite. I think this is the 10th anniversary edition. But yeah, very cool. There's not many Mac Miller albums that I don't have. Putting On for the City, Watching Movies with the Sound Off by Mac Miller. Another incredible album of his. My favorite song on this is Avion. And G's with Schoolboy Q. That's fire too. And then yeah, we have Good AM by Mac Miller. We have, this is actually the 10th anniversary edition of Macadelic. This is the 10th anniversary edition of Macadelic, which just recently came out. It doesn't have the original cover to it or anything, which is odd. But the disc is gray, which is very cool. Mac Miller's been around long enough to like create all these cool 10th anniversary edition ones, and I've never seen like just the regular cover for Macadelic on vinyl. But I was really happy I was able to get my hands on this. I forget where I bought it, but just I think it was a local CD store that I get a lot of my vinyls at. But just being able to have this one is super cool, and just was one of the ones. I think this is the most recent Mac Miller album that I got, and obviously I'm trying to collect them all because he's the king of Pittsburgh and I should pay my dues. Following the trend, we have Best Day Ever by Mac Miller, and then of course Swimming, probably his best project to date. Circles. This one has a really cool poster in it. Just got all the songs on there, and then on the other side, Mac Miller, Circles, and production credits and whatnot. And then Faces. This one is a limited one, and comes with all these different colored sleeves with a corresponding color of the disc. But rather than saying side A or side B or 1 or 2, every side goes in order, so F, A, and then with the next disc, this one would be C, E. But super cool. I love that color of blue. That's my favorite color. And then finally, we have the last disc, which is just a beautiful red, Faces, and then this one is blank. But super cool design, because obviously this is probably Mac Miller's most colorful album. But I love what he did with it, and whenever he released the album and released the vinyl for it, I bought this instantly. I fell in love with it. But yeah, super cool project. My favorite song on here is Happy Birthday. We have Goodbye and Good Riddance by Juice WRLD. That album really needs no explanation. Obviously, Death Race for Love by Juice WRLD. Another just iconic album by him. And then Legends Never Die. Just beautiful cover art. I had to buy this one. Another Fallen King. Rest in peace, Juice WRLD. Rest in peace, X. Obviously, have to give them all the credit in the world, but this disc, super cool. Black and white, like, I don't even know what to call this, but it's super sleek. I mean, I think it matches like the aesthetic of the album perfectly. And I didn't know that it was like this whenever I bought the vinyl, so I just opened it up, and it was a big surprise. And then, question mark. I remember that the day this album came out, I had all my friends over at my house, and we all listened to it at midnight whenever it dropped. I was so excited. Since I had to show Juice WRLD and X back to back, my next one is obviously going to be Ski Mask, The Slump God, Stokely. This is an incredible album. Another album that I remember it dropping. I remember listening to it. I remember everybody was listening to it. It dropped my sophomore year of high school, and I remember everybody was listening to it whenever it came out, and everybody was talking about Nuketown, obviously. Throwing in a miscellaneous artist, like right before my next string of all one legend, it's going to be Please Excuse Me for Being Antisocial by Roddy Ricch. This is not the only Roddy Ricch merch I own. I have his Please Excuse Me for Being Antisocial dice that you might be able to see in the corner there. The Please Excuse Me for Being Antisocial dice. I'm not sure why I own these, but I do. Another one of my favorite artists, 2014 Forest Hills Drive by J. Cole. That was the first vinyl I ever bought. I bought it with the vinyl player. and it was on a whim, but I'm glad I did it, although it has killed my bank account. For Your Eyes Only by J. Cole. My favorite J. Cole project, KOD. I had the CD of it as well. Favorite song on there is Brackets. The Off Season. And Revenge of the Dreamers 3. This is the director's cut edition, I believe it's called. But another super cool trifold. It's got all the songs on there. Obviously, there's a ton of artists. These are all the artists that worked on the project. But obviously, there's a ton of artists on here, so there's a ton of songs. This vinyl is so heavy. It's got 3 discs in it. And my favorite on here is probably Revenge. Alright, so this is probably the first like extremely exclusive vinyl I own. It's Strays with Rabies by Earth Gang. And the vinyl is super sick. I believe this record is one of 1,500. But yeah, this is such a beautiful record. Beautiful design. The red splatters match the art perfectly. I remember this was a record store day drop, and I unfortunately didn't get it on record store day, so I did have to pay resale. And it wasn't that bad. For some reason it dropped like pretty harshly, like after a few days of it being out. So I was able to get it for not exactly cheap, but not, terribly. It's not my most expensive vinyl. But yeah, Straight with Rabies. And then we have some Kid Cudi. Man on the Moon. Best song on here is Up, Up, and Away, Don't At Me. Skipping Man on the Moon 2 because it's literally $1 billion. Here is Man on the Moon 3 with the best cover art out of the trilogy. I don't think anybody's going to disagree with that. Phenomenal album. I had this on repeat for like months whenever it came out. Moving on next, we have some The Weeknd for you. Beauty Behind the Madness. Starboy, this was the second vinyl I bought, I believe. Had this one on repeat. I was like using my brush to clean it every time I used it because I was at that stage where I was like taking meticulous care of all my vinyls, and I still do, but I don't clean them every use. I'm not like that crazy about them now, but I remember I took this one so seriously. It's got a beautiful disc, so I always put it on for that reason specifically. It made me love the album more, but I didn't love it that much whenever I bought it. Just super pretty blue. Again, I love this color. Probably my favorite color. But yeah, phenomenal album. I'm glad. So my camera cut out because I hit the maximum record time. But that'll be Starboy by The Weeknd. And then After Hours. This was the first cool disc I ever purchased. Probably my favorite album by The Weeknd. But just to match the cover, the gold disc with the red spots. I do believe this is a limited one. Well, it's obviously a limited one, but I don't know what the number is limited to. And that'll round out my collection of The Weeknd. I have to change my camera battery. Niagara by Red Veil. I will be honest, this was a very irresponsible purchase. While I do love this album, and while it is very limited, I think it's one of 1,500, but I'm not sure, so don't quote that. I didn't know who Red Veil was whenever I bought it. Or whenever it was announced, at least. It was like announced and then 24 hours later it was released. But actually it was delayed a few times. I remember that. And the cover art changed. Or not the cover art, but the this disc itself changed. Super cool disc, obviously. Still, like, it's got a super neat design. Matches the cover art very well. But my friend showed me that this vinyl was releasing, showed me that it was super limited. And he was like, yo, trust me, this album's phenomenal. Like, you gotta get it, and you're gonna be mad at yourself if you don't. And then I was like, okay, bet. And then I listened to like 2 songs on the album, and I was like, okay, yeah, this kid's goated. Then he dropped this like maybe a week or 2 weeks later, I'm not sure, but it was delayed like just a little bit. And obviously very, 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 very glad I got this because it's a phenomenal album by a phenomenal young artist. I own this and I don't know why. It's Blame It On Baby Deluxe. Crash Talk by Schoolboy Q. I got this at an FYE in my local mall. Such a good album. Oh my god, I love this album. It's probably not better than Oxymoron, but I think I like it more. Super excited for Schoolboy Q to drop another album. I love this album so much. Moving on next, we got some Drain shit for ya. We got some Glue. Glue by Blade. Ever Since by Blade. Unfortunately, do not own Red Light. I took a big fat L when that released. Warlord by Young Lean. This is my favorite Young Lean project. Frost God by Young Lean's got a super cool cover. I don't know why this is the cover for the vinyl and then this is the sleeve, but regardless, whatever. I actually didn't show the discs for Warlord and Glue, so I'm going to cut to that after I show you this super cool baby blue, like just very pretty disc. It's almost like just translucent, but just barely. This was my favorite vinyl that I owned for a very long time. Probably up until I got Ants from Up There or Damn on vinyl, but both discs are actually very different. There's just a lot of fan service in here. There's a lot of like story behind the making of the album, but here's a little transparent, like, it's got this, I don't even know what to call it. It's got these like almost brown streaks through it. You probably can't see it with my hand in the way, but super cool. The cover art is just Young Lean, but there's so much in here. There's like a photo album from you know, all their time in Miami recording this album. Rest in peace, Baron. There's a lot of like, you know, letters in here to him, addressing him specifically. But this is super hard picture. It's just Young Lean in front of a whole crowd performing whenever he was like super big and on the rise. But just opaque white, another one with like these little brown streaks through it. Almost looks pink with my lights, but I promise you it is white. And then, you know, another design on the back. Like I said, definitely my favorite album for a long time that I owned on vinyl, and I don't think I need to explain why. It's just got a super sick photo album from their time in Miami. And, you know, like I said, a lot of story behind this album. So I think it's very cool that they kind of immortalized that and put it in a vinyl that people can, like... If you're a fan of Young Lean, you know the story of what happened in Miami. I'm not going to touch on it, but it's super cool that they were able to, like, bring that, you know, to life and give the fans something that, you know, we could all really appreciate. So this is the vinyl that broke my bank. I was hurting for a long time after I bought this one. But this is Stranger by Young Lean. It cost me over $200, and I'm not mad at all about it. But yeah, super phenomenal album. Agony is one of the best songs ever made. And a gorgeous disc to go along with it. Super pretty. The black dots all throughout it. Oh my god, it matches everything like this album is going for perfectly. For the Young Lean albums, minus Warlord, Frost God, and this one, Poison Ivy, I had to have them shipped from Sweden. I bought them on Discogs. But yeah, they took a long time to get here. And obviously these ones I was just able to buy on like the website. But yeah, Poison Ivy. Super cool yellow cover. It's like, I'm not a fan of the color yellow, but if I was, this is the color of yellow that I would really enjoy. Just super pretty. Very, like, under the radar Young Lean album that doesn't deserve enough, or that doesn't get enough credit for what it deserves. And then the first Young Lean album I bought, Stars. Still one of my favorite albums I've ever purchased. This is the first album I got on Discogs, but it's got a green disc to match the black sleeve, and then on the other side, it's got a black disc to match the green sleeve. This is a phenomenal album. Again, not my favorite by Young Lean, because, like I've said before, Warlord is, but if Warlord is number one, this is number two for sure. I can't give this album enough credit. From the next batch, we have Enter the Wu-Tang by Wu-Tang Clan. Favorite song on there is Method Man. Moving on, we have A Tribe Called Quest. We got it from here. Thank you for your service. I love this album. I have a lot of things to say about it, but like I said, I'm kind of just going through this because I have a lot of vinyls to show off. Next, we have Illmatic by Nas. Probably one of the best hip hop albums ever made. I mean, people say that it is, people say that it isn't. But regardless, it's probably in your top 15 at least. Limbo by Amine. Favorite song on here is Mama. I did buy this one at Urban Outfitters at the King of Prussia Mall. This one has these little black streaks all throughout the green disc. It's super, super cool. But wow, this wasn't the only vinyl I purchased while I was there. I also got Cocodrillo Turbo by Action Bronson. I'm being honest, I don't know anything else by Action Bronson, so this is my favorite album by him just by default. But another one with super cool colored disc. Cool like green, blue, and yellow there. But yeah, this is a super fun album. 91 is such a good song. And then we have someone who's progressed a lot, and you can see it as I show you every album. It just gets better and better. Starting with Zoo by Denzel Curry. This is a really good project, and there's a lot of really fun bangers on here. However, it doesn't compare to half the stuff he's putting out nowadays. This one's got a super cool green disc. That was another one that I was like surprised by the color because it wasn't advertised as such, and then I just opened it and it was green. Next we have Taboo by Denzel Curry. As I say, you can see the progression in like these vinyls that I show you, so you know it's super cool. Obviously he's an artist that has had a lot of success in the past, but now he's just kind of putting out stuff that's just better and better with every release, so super cool to see him grow as an artist. But this is the red and white one. There was a specific name for that disc, but I can't remember what it was at the time. And this is my most exclusive Denzel Curry. It's probably my most exclusive vinyl I own. This is Denzel Curry's Melt My Eyes, See Your Future. This is the 1 in 500 purple disc. So yeah, super, super rare. You're not going to see a lot of these on YouTube. But yes, very, very cool, super beautiful color. The album actually came out very close before my birthday, so it was a lot of fun to have something to like bump out to on my birthday, some new stuff to bump out to. And I almost forgot, got Lil Boat 3 here on album. This was a gift from my mother's boyfriend at the time. I'm sorry you aren't involved in me and my family's lives anymore, but thank you for buying this while you were. Now these next few are just kind of things that I keep in my bottom shelf, but there's just no rap. That's it. I mean, it's all sorts of genres, but the only thing is that there's no rap. Starting with some Arctic Monkeys, we have Favorite Worst Nightmare. This is just one of those albums where I felt like I needed to own it. I knew 505 whenever I got it in Fluorescent Adolescent, but Only Ones Who Know is probably my favorite on here now after listening through the album completely after buying the vinyl. I should probably really stop doing that because it's not a good habit. But sometimes it works out, so, you know, it is what it is. And then we have AM by Arctic Monkeys. If you haven't listened to this album, you probably know the cover or you know Do I Want to Know. That's like everybody's first Arctic Monkeys song if they weren't like listening as they were releasing music. Next we have some Gorillaz. We have Sound Machine and Plastic Beach. My favorite Gorillaz project, super cool art, super cool music. There's a Snoop Dogg song on here, it's fire. Up next we have The New Abnormal by The Strokes. This was another album that my friend, or I guess two friends, kind of simultaneously put me on to. But it's got one of my favorite 3-song runs ever in The Adults Are Talking, Selfless, and Brooklyn Bridge to Chorus. But another really good song on here is Ode to the Mets, the outro. Next we have Dookie by Green Day. I think I bought this at Barnes & Noble. But yeah, it's just a fun album that I really like. There's no cool like disc or, you know, any like posters or art or anything like that. Just something cheap that I got, but I really like this album, so I'm happy I was able to get my hands on it. Next, we have the only Panic at the Disco anything I will ever own. We have Too Weird to Live, Too Rare to Die. Another controversial artist that I can't really support like at all because he's an awful human being. But this is a good album, and this was something that I purchased before knowing that he was a good person, or before knowing that he was an awful person. But yeah, this is a really good album by somebody who doesn't deserve support. Next we have Ballads 1 by Joji. This was the first album that I ever listened to that made me cry. I was going through a lot that day and my mom picked me up from school and I listened to this in the basement of her workplace and cried all day. It's a transparent vinyl. I don't think I need to say anything about Joji. He's kind of like crushing stuff on the billboards right now. He's really making a name for himself. But yeah, I love that album. Obviously, super sentimental connection to it. So I'll never be able to like shake that album and what it did for me. Next, we have American Teen by Khaled. I've been listening to this since 8th grade. So whenever I started collecting vinyls and I saw this, I just kind of had to buy it. But too many really fun, like amazing bangers on here. I haven't listened to this album in a really long time, and now I want to because I low-key forgot I owned this. One of my favorite artists of all time, Jon Bellion. I've literally been listening to him since I was in 7th grade, and this has been one of my favorite albums ever since like it came out. I know it's not like the most groundbreaking album of all time, but I grew up with it, so it means a lot to me. This is another super expensive album that I own. It's The Human Condition by Jon Bellion. I've been listening to this guy literally since I was in 7th grade, so I kind of grew up with this album. We have some Jon Bellion Thirst Trap on here. Super cute, man, and he makes some really incredible music. We have another transparent vinyl, The Human Condition by Jon Bellion. Another Jon Bellion album that I own, Glory Sound Prep. Beautiful, beautiful cover art. And the disc for this is also that same color blue that I just really, really love. But yeah, phenomenal, phenomenal album. This is probably Jon Bellion's best, but The Human Condition is still like unmatched in my opinion just because of the fact that I grew up with it mainly. Moving on to the final three, this was a Christmas gift from my sister, The Story of Us by Quinn92. Very excited for his next upcoming project. Some of my favorite Quinn songs are on this album, so it might be my favorite Quinn project, but he's just got so much fun music that I don't know at this point, especially because he seems to be going in like almost a new direction with the stuff that he's recently put out. But I'm glad to see that he's getting a lot of publicity because his work is just really good, and he was very underrated for a very long time. Next, we have Oracular Spectacular by MGMT. I'm coming for a little Dark Age, but this will do for now. Phenomenal project. I've been listening to this since I was a kid. Obviously, everybody has listened to like Kids, Time to Pretend, and Electric Feel, but I mean, it doesn't take away from how fun this album is and just how good like their other stuff is. And finally, the last album that I own is An Evening with Silk Sonic. Super, super cool album. One of my favorite albums ever made. But it's time to blast off with Silk Sonic. Just no like specific like design or color on the vinyl, but I think it kind of does itself justice. It's probably exactly like what it should be. But yeah, super, super in love with this album. When this album came out on vinyl, I had to own it. It's just, one of my favorite albums ever made. And I mean, I liked it so much I was able to do a whole video on it. So yeah, again, go check that out, please. Thank you. Now, I know I did a lot of jumping around in this video, so I apologize if it was hard to follow, but that might have been pretty fast-paced and in your face. But I'm not a rapper. I appreciate you guys all for watching and taking the time to watch my collection. I plan on, taking a lot more time to build it as time goes on. But this is what it is for now, and I could do some update videos in the future. Thank you guys for watching.